I get 22 felonies. They take me to the federal holding facility in Florence. All you gotta do is say, yeah, I know that guy, and this is what happened. I was like, I don't know them dudes. These three guys come out, man, big ass guys. The big old black guy gets out, U.S. Marshals, and I'm in the truck, and I got this. The state just picked all up those charges and just threw a barrel of charges at me, plus some other stuff they had going on me from before, because I'm not a perfect angel. So I just started my sentence, and I got a three-way to my mother. Got to talk to her and got to hear her voice, and she told me she loved me, she's proud of me, and then she died 3 days later in her sleep. And then, on my birthday, as I'm getting released, I get a call to the warden's office. You have a new charge, and they hit me with one charge on my release date, and I had to start everything over again. But there was an actual hit from the Aryan Brotherhood on my life, and there's a bounty on me, and I'm like, wow, how did this happen? How did this happen? I've been so loyal, I've done everything right.
Scott, I got a country singer on the show. By the way, I love country music. I listen to country music all the time. Okay, and I'm a Boston guy.
Yeah.
Right, and you're from down in Arizona.
Yeah.
That's a far way, right? I'm not a.
Long
I'm
trip.
a city slicker, right? But I still love that music.
It's a long trip.
But most importantly, is you're a cowboy in a way, right?
I wouldn't call myself a cowboy. I love the cowboy way of life. I sing country music, and I kind of glamorize cowboys and their lifestyle. They're probably a lot tougher than I am and stuff. I love their way of life, and I like to think of myself as just a country boy.
All right, so country boy,
Yeah.
Country singer, country boy,
Yeah.
right? That did 10 years in prison, and would never give anybody up,
No.
and held his water.
Held my water.
So tell us about that. Tell us about your life, and then we'll get into that.
So I'm sure a lot of people you have on your show and stuff, like the gentleman you just had before me and stuff, their lifestyles and stuff growing up were probably led them to be like, go to prison, and like it was like maybe something that was that was like is normal, in some people's lives. They grew up that way. Although I had an older brother in prison, I grew up and went to college, played college basketball, went to school, never had a felony in my life. Thought I was going to be this NBA player, and when college ran out and you find out you're just not good enough anymore, you figure out like, man, what the heck am I going to do with my life now? Get your whole, your dad telling you you're going to be in the NBA, your mom, you go to a small school and go drop 30 on anybody. Then you realize you get a little older, you're like, now I'm 6'7", I kind of cheated, I didn't work out as hard as I should, and there's people out here that ain't going to eat if they don't play. You go up against some pretty stiff competition,
Sure.
And then so you just like come done now, and then your family's like, you feel like you let everybody down. And I got this college degree now, and I go get a regular job at Albertsons, and I'm just like, what the fuck am I doing? So I start breaking the law. I start breaking the law at a young age, maybe 24, 25 years old. I start just getting into trouble and fast money and fast life and gambling, and start selling cars, being a car salesman. That kind of lifestyle is like, I want to sell 6 cars a day and just drop it on your head, that kind of just lifestyle. And
Sure.
It kind of turns you into like whatever that lifestyle turns you into, and you're always looking for an angle. You're always seeing what I can get out of this situation. And I think that kind of breeded me into just breaking the law and looking for the easy way out, because I can kind of talk anybody into anything.
And you grew up in Arizona.
Grew up in Arizona, yeah. So this is that in Arizona. And so I just started getting a little bit of trouble, and this led into that. And I did a little bit of time. I did this early sentence where they gave me, I went to prison. Sat in jail for a year and a half, fighting my case, and never had nothing wrong with me. And the judge just gave me a little, tap on the wrist, gave me a year and a half, and I went and did my little year and a half and got intense probation, completed it. Everything's going good, and later on in life, I start singing some country music, and I get into country music, and I sang karaoke one night in my mid-30s and found out I could sing. So I sang country music and get in a band, and I ended up in Vegas and playing at the Golden Nugget, out of state, the Golden Nugget.
Oh, wow, big venue.
Making $3,000 a week, staying at the Golden Nugget. But hell, I never made it further than the Walgreens down the street to get a can of chew, a pack of white shirts, and some toothpaste. It was everything I needed, man, was right there, and it was all just negativity. It was women, cocaine, gambling, bookies coming up to me, just letting me run as much as I wanted. I could charge food bills to my room until I played again if I was broke. I either had a wad full of money at the blackjack table, or I was borrowing and begging. It was an unhealthy lifestyle, but I looked like I was, doing something that was worth the shit, but I wasn't. I wasn't being a good man. I wasn't being a good anything, a father. I was up there just singing cover songs and acting like I was some kind of rock star because I had this fortunate gig I was blessed with that I didn't take advantage of. And in the course of that, some gentlemen from up in your neck of the woods, they started allowing me to make these big bets on credit, you know, and gambling bets, and I'd hit some, and I started losing some, and my streak kind of went to shit, you know how that goes. And so my streak started going downhill, and these fellas that were my friends, you know, they start showing up at my shows and waiting for me in the back, you know, and you got to pay this bill, you know, I'm good for it. But you know how that just turned out I'm not good for it, and I start like, you know, now I'm doing shows where I'm looking for guys in the audience. The shows become shitty. Golden Nugget fires me, you know. These guys want to, you know, they want to break my bones and my body and stuff like that. And like I said, I didn't grow up being a gangster. You know, I grew up, my dad was a Marine for 22 years. I'm proud. I never backed down from a fight. One thing I never run from was a fight, or you got some shit with me, let's figure it out, you know. I'm all about that.
Yep.
But I'm not a gangster. Never pulled no gun on nobody, was never in no gang banging, no shit like that. And all of a sudden now I'm into some fellers for some money, man. They ain't messing around, you know. And at this point, I think they liked me enough, the relationship that I'd built with them, to see that I wasn't a horrible person. I just got kind of caught up in a bad way, so they told me that I could work it off. You know, it was a big bill. It was a 6-figure bill. And they said, you can work this off, you know, Josh. I got a knock at the door. Maybe that's them. Maybe I still owe them money. They're at the door now. Maybe I still owe them money.
Well, they're going to have to go back out that door, I can tell you that.
So anyhow, they told me you make 3 trips from back east here to Vegas, you know, and we'll knock off so much money each one, and after we get these 3 done, you're good to go. So I had done 2, made the trip back, and the 3rd one, you know, I was the same setup as every time. I was in a Cadillac. There was a Cadillac in front of me, a Cadillac behind me. We were all driving, and I was in Pinal County coming through Tucson, and this cop starts passing us, and he just pulls over to my car and he points at the car. So I'd been told on somehow I'd been given up, you know.
Yeah, they set you up. There was a confidential informant somewhere.
Somewhere in the mix, you know, whether that be a good guy or a bad guy. I needed to be a fall guy because I wasn't really into your guys' circle like that. I was more of a I would call myself at that time a John, right? For a woman, like a woman's playing this dude. You're just a John. I think I was the John to, like, you know, to real gangsters of people like yourself and stuff like that. They were just like, okay, this dude owed us money. We're going to use him up now, and like this, whatever. The car needs to get pulled over. And this dude, he's not family. He's not from us. He's not no convict. He's not nobody. He sings country music, and he's a drug addict, and he's an idiot, and he's got a gambling problem. Let's just get him pulled over. And so that's what happened. You know, I got pulled over, and I was like, wow. And there was tons of identifications in the trunk, money, everything under the sun, under this thing, right? So I get 22 felonies. They take me to the federal holding facility in Florence, and they just, you know, they show me pictures, they show me everything. They're like, listen, we don't fucking want you. Like, go home. This is this guy. Just, that's all you gotta do is say, yeah, I know that guy, and this is what happened. I was like, I don't know them dudes. And like, you know what I mean? Like, if the car I was driving, I was in possession of the car, I had insurance on it. That was my deal, man. It's like, you're an idiot. You can go home. And so I sat there. Months went by, and finally they let me out. They just figured out, I guess I wasn't telling, and they didn't have really. Feds didn't want me. Feds didn't want some country music singing middle-aged Crassus man. You know, they didn't want me. So they released me to probation one day out of the blue. I got out. I was like, wow, a new chance at life, you know. And I got released, and I went to work on the farm. I was like, I'm done with music. I'm gonna go be a dad. They had me on this crazy IPS. And it was always felt funny, but it was like I just did it. I was like 4 months into it, and I was out driving a tractor one day on the farm. I was cutting grass out there on the sod farm, getting ready to harvest a new one. I was chopping it. And 3 like Ford F-150s, you know, 4 doors, pull across the grass in the middle of nowhere. No one ever comes across the sod farm, the grass. You get your ass whooped, you know. You get to be in a golf cart or on a fucking donkey, you know. Mm-hmm. And these 3 guys come out, man, big-ass guys. The big old black guy gets out, U.S. Marshals, and I'm in the truck, and I got this blade chopping to the ground. He's like, hey, you got a court date you missed. I said, no, man, I don't have a court date. I missed. I was like, you can be honest with me right now. We can take this fucking blade around this thing till it runs out of gas, you know. He's like, you got warrants for your arrest, you know. You got warrants. I was like, cool. Can I get my truck? Can I call my wife? Can I, you know, figure out my life real quick? And he's like, yeah, they're real cool to me. And so I was respectful to them. They were respectful back. But anyways, the feds dropped the case on me. The state picked it all up. The state just picked all up those charges and just threw a barrel of charges at me, plus some other stuff they had going on me from before, because I'm not a perfect angel. And I, you know, went in there, fought it, got 6.5 years. You know, they gave me. I got an open plea. I signed from 4.5 to 8.5. They gave me 6.5. Started my time, right, immediately starting my time. I just lost my father to a wrongful death suit. You know, I grew up with just him. He was my hero, 22-year Marine.
Sorry to hear that.
Yeah, so that was rough, and I just lost him. And then immediately after, my mom was a lot younger than my dad. You know, she was 20 years younger than my father. But immediately after right when I got to prison, if you know this guy knows about being to prison, you get to that little section where you don't have no phones. You got to get them approved, and then you get that little section where you got to get a 3-way from a buddy to call a family member, and you know you're just kind of alone. You just got to the yard and stuff like that. So I just started my sentence, and I got a 3-way to my mother, and you know I broke her heart by coming to prison. You know, she wasn't always around when I was a kid. And she remarried a few times, but like, you know, my dad was in love with her his whole life. She was a good friend, a good woman, and she tried all the time. And later on in life, she was like, you know, she dealt with a lot of guilt from, you know, for just missing out a lot with me, and I dealt with a lot of guilt for not being a better son to her. But, you know, I called her through a 3-way and got to talk to her and got to hear her voice, and she told me she loved me, she was proud of me, and then she died 3 days later in her sleep. You know, I got a call from the warden, and, you know, she died in her sleep, and then that's how I started my sentence.
When it rains, it pours.
It rains, it pours. So that's how my sentence started. You know, 2 kids, wife I'm leaving behind. You know, for 6 years, I'm missing all my son's high school years. And I get in there, I lose I just lost my father. Then I lost my mom, and I was like, you know, emptiness. And you're in there looking with nothing, can't call nobody, don't know nobody, trying to get your feet on the ground. And so that's how the prison sentence started. You know, and so that's how I ended up in prison, and that's how my journey began.
And you never gave anybody up?
No, never gave anybody up.
You took full responsibility?
Full responsibility.
Even when some piece of shit, confidential informant, gave you up?
I got gave up by a confidential informant, and then the state, you know, the dude who turned me on to music, his name is Jake Miali, and he's from Casa Grande. He was the DJ there, and he was like kind of a big deal in Pinal County, and he gave me a job being kind to me. You know, he was friends with my wife at the time. And I went out and sang karaoke. He hosted it, and people found out I was pretty good at singing. And then I started working for him, doing some shows, hosting karaoke. And then a band got me to sing with him, and he became really, really jealous of me. And I wasn't doing things completely legally when I was doing that stuff and doing music, but I wasn't doing nothing against him or anybody else. I was breaking some laws. So he got mad and jealous of my success, and he comes and repossesses his equipment one night, and I had a bag full of some stuff, and there was some stuff in there that I would rather not anyone else see. You know, there was some dirt in there that I had that it was just for my eyes only. You know, nothing bad. It was shit that's against the law. There's some felonies in that bag. Instead of calling me because we're friends, he just goes to the fucking police station, man, and just turns it in. This belongs to Josh Scott, and that's how that investigation started with the state. And when the feds dropped that, they picked that up, and it's like boom, it just went into, you know, it just became a brush fire, and that's how I ended up in prison.
Maybe that. I would have thought, well, if somebody walks in with a bag like that and says this belongs to Josh Scott or Red Shea, well, maybe it's his.
Right.
Maybe it's his fucking bag, not your bag, right?
Yeah, exactly. And it was his bag. It belonged to him. It was his possessions. I just had some stuff in his bag. But I mean, regardless of not, like, maybe it was his bag, but you know how it gets when you start looking at pleas and having to take a trial, and they start scaring you with trial times, and if you lose, you know, and they had so many charges in there that, you know, if I wanted stuck with a couple priors, you know, I was going to go do 10, 15 years, you know what I mean? And I was guilty of some things, you know, whether or not I needed to get told on to be found guilty of those charges or not. You know, at the end of the day.
The government's guilty of a lot of things too, brother, more than we ever be guilty for, brother.
You ain't lying. You ain't lying.
You know that. We all know that.
Yes, sir.
Everybody in the world knows that.
Yes, sir.
Everybody in the country knows that.
Yeah. Yes,
sir. So, nobody's an angel here.
No,
in this
not
world.
Not at all.
Nobody's an angel.
Not at all.
Except our mothers.
Except our mothers.
All right.
Absolutely. Yeah, except our mothers. So that's how it started, you know. And then once I got there, you know, I was just this white collar guy who's a, you know, big guy, and you know, you get in there and you start meeting some fellas, and you start figuring out, how am I going to do this next 6.5 years, and you know, how am I going to, where I'm not going to be a burden on my family, and how am I going to adapt in here? And you start like, how can I live off the land? And you start just, you know, start being a leader. And I started, you know, adapting my environment. I started opening up stores on the yard for white boys, and you know, we'd start running stores. I have a white boy run that store, and I invested in those, and you know, I'd take that and I'd send the money where it was supposed to go to the fellas, you know, every month. And before you know it, I had 10 stores, and I was making, you know, $700-800 a week profit selling food boxes every week, sending that home to the family, and started sending money to where it was supposed to go. And I started being respected for that reason, you know. And And then I was given some responsibilities throughout that prison sentence to where I could be a leader and do kind of the things I thought were right and wrong. And some people agreed with that, just like anything, you know. You got one side because always got other guys who want the yard and want your demise. Then you got people who believe in what you're doing and what you're trying to do. So while I was there, I tried to just do the best I could for the white dudes who didn't have nothing. And there were some situations, you know, where maybe other yards, somebody who ran that yard, if a certain situation happened, they would maybe stomp that dude out and send him on his way, you know. But there was some situation I seen as a father and as a person that dude's got a mama, that dude's got a daddy, and maybe he messed up on another yard. He didn't tell on nobody. He didn't snitch on nobody. Maybe he owed $15 or $20. He's scared and just left yards, you know, stuff in a situation like that. And that's against the rules in there.
Hey, listen, It's
against the rules.
Yeah, I know that. I get that. But I've seen a lot of guys who weren't big tough guys, they weren't big fighters, killers, or whatever you want to call them, that took their punishment.
Yeah.
That accepted their responsibility.
Yeah.
Took their time.
Yeah.
And never gave anybody up.
Yeah.
They might not be fighters.
Yeah.
But they certainly held their water and they didn't give anybody up.
Right.
So when I see these big gangsters out there that have killed, you know, I keep saying it all the time, I like to use the number 25. 25 bodies you got, and the government has exposed them for it. And then they become rats.
Yeah.
And then they say, he ain't nobody, I'm somebody. No, you might have been somebody at one time.
Right.
But once you became a rat, you're nobody no more. Matter of fact, you're really nobody.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
So if I know a guy that owes $15 and he ain't a rat,
right,
but he'll give it back to you eventually.
Right.
You honor that.
Yeah, exactly.
You fucking honor that.
Exactly.
Because that's a man.
Exactly.
He's standing up. Because if you don't honor that, you're pushing him into the hands of the government.
Same shit. Exactly what I'm saying. So there were some situations in there where you have some old school fellers or some different people who maybe want to do things differently. And I would see maybe a kid who's 20 years old who maybe owed $15, right? But this kid's got a mom, he's got a dad, and maybe he had 3 years left in front of him, and his whole fucking prison sentence is going to be ruined over $15 because he made a mistake. No, he didn't tell on nobody. He didn't rat on nobody. He's not a piece of shit. He's doing his time, and he owed $15. Let's not, instead of running him off a yard and ruin his life, let's make him do 1,000 burpees, run the track until he fucking can't feel his calves, and pay the debt for him, and let him start over, you know? So stuff like that is what I try to do with my time, and I was able to, I think, change a lot of kids' lives and make a lot of people better, and it pissed some people off along the way because it was kind of a fine line I would walk, but like I was like, well, come see me if you got a problem with it, and you know, if you can figure out a way to, you know, to get me to stop doing it, then that's how you do things in life, you know. Come change it. If you don't, shut the fuck up, you know.
That's integrity.
Yeah. Yeah.
A, you wouldn't cooperate.
No.
You took it on the chin.
Yeah.
You're not a gangster.
No.
You didn't grow up in that life.
No.
But yet you still held your water.
Yeah.
But yet you still kept your integrity, brother.
Yeah.
Right?
How can I tell on another man to get out of my situation? It just don't make no sense.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm not an expert on this, but that's a real country boy.
I think so. You know, our codes are maybe, you know, I picked up, I think, the convict code, and I'm proud to call myself a convict now. I'm a convict, you know. That's my way of life. I'm never going to call the cops, and I got some good friends that are cops now. Sheriff Lamb, you know, Mark Lamb, Kerry Lake. They're good friends of mine now that I've walked the campaign trail with and support a lot of the movements they do. But I'm not ever going to call that dude if someone's getting beat up in my front yard. You know, like I'm acquaintances with him now, business relationship, and I respect his stance on our country. I respect Sheriff Lamb's stance on his job and, you know, border protection, all that stuff, and that's his job, and he's got a job to do, and he's got a family to protect. And I figured, you know, when I was out breaking the law, I had a job to do, and I had things I needed to do to feed my family. And if you caught me, you caught me. I wasn't gonna be on no bullshit and try to, you know, hurt you or your family or nothing like that. Like, you're doing your job, you come at me peacefully, man. I'm gonna be peaceful. You won. You got me. You know, like that's cool. You got a job to do. I respect it. Everybody's got a job to do, you know. Some people fall into one line, some people fall into another category. At the end of the day, though, if you believe in God, you try to do the right things, you try to be a man.
Well, I agree. 1,000% I agree with you. But it's the way you do your job.
For sure. 1,000,000%.
You're either a man and you accept responsibility no matter what, because of those ethnic codes, if you will.
Yeah.
As a man, as a solid person, accepting the wrongs that you've done without putting it on someone else's shoulders. And then it's on the other flip side of it, those law enforcement men, they have an obligation too.
Yeah.
And they have ethnics in the code too,
Yeah.
because they were granted that by the government, by the people. So if they're not telling the truth about the man, or they're trying to get someone to say something that's not true about that man and change the story, those ethnics aren't right.
No.
They're not living. They're not living ethnically properly.
No, I agree with that. I can imagine too, you growing up the way you grew up in your story and your lifestyle, and like, you know, being back in Boston and in that neck of the woods, you know, like back in the day, they had them old Irish cops who were gangsters, but they were cops, you know. And it's like, but they were about the business. They fist fight you, you know. And so like you grew up around that, so I'm sure there was law enforcement that like even you went a different direction, that you can just sit back and be like, I respect that man.
Let me tell you something.
I respect what he's doing, you know.
Let me tell you something. You touched on something that's very important, and I thank you for that. My uncle, God bless his soul, he used to say, because we're Irish, right? We're all Irish. But there'd be a lot of the cops that came from Ireland became cops.
Right.
He said they were the most vicious motherfuckers that you could ever imagine. They had that billy club, and they'd swing that billy. You try to run away, they'd swing that billy club like a boomerang, and they'd get it between your legs as you're running, and you fall down, and then they'd beat the shit out of you.
Yeah.
They wouldn't even bring you to the station.
Right.
They just beat the living shit out of you.
Yeah, and that's
so they were tough back then. You are absolutely correct.
And that's what comes to my mind, you know. And it's like we've gotten so far away from what a man is in today's world, anyways. That like there's just not a lot of any men running around anymore in today's world they're coming into this world that you know that aren't being raised by probably like someone like yourself or you know, someone who grew up kind of the way I did or you know whatever that is now. But like we're the generation of man as we know it, and like having heroes and shit that men are growing up to be heroes for your children. Or like those days they might be done, you know.
Well, I totally agree. But I think a man that's a hero to his daughter or his son is a man that provides for them and shows them a good way and guides them in a good way. Yeah. And when they make mistakes, they back them. And they show them and teach them and express to them with integrity.
Yeah. It's you know, I hit on a point for you. You know, you said, glad I brought it up. And that just fast forward to that 6.5 years that I got, and it turned into 10, you know. April 26th is my birthday. April 10th, I believe, April 10th or 11th. My father's day, he passed away April 8th, 2005. So I'm in prison. I'm about to go home on April 26th, which is like my birthday. It is my birthday, so that's my release date, you know, after 6.5 years. And beginning of April, get another phone call, you know, another phone call from the chaplain. My older brother, Scotty, who had, you know, he was the gangster of the family. Been in prison, did a lot of his time in prison. I seen he was about his business. A 58991 number in Arizona, you know, that's old as shit. But he overdosed and died back in Pennsylvania. You know, I got that call.
Sorry to hear that.
And then, yeah, thank you. And then, you know, on my birthday, as I'm getting released, I get a call to the warden's office, and I've given all my shit away, said goodbye to everybody, you know, the whole thing. And they say you got page 2'd. You have a new charge. They held the charge back from Maricopa County, and they just waited the 7 years, and they hit me with one charge right on my release date, and I had to start everything over again. Completely fucking start over from scratch. Back to county jail, fight in a case, leave the yard, you know, go sit in county jail again to fight and claw and pay lawyers to get me 4 more years, you know, to turn around and start over again. And so when that had happened, you know, I was on a minimum yard at Numa, and I'd done my whole time out of minimum camp, and that's where I was able to do these kind of cool things on this minimum yard. Camp Snoopy, you know, get away with a lot, you know, as long as people aren't getting sent off in helicopters and shit, everybody's it's cool. Operations are running smoothly. And so I was able to really have a good life and live pretty good off that yard. And then when they took me away, I left it to a brother of mine I thought was a brother of mine. And his name was Cody. And you know. Cody, when I was gone, I sat in county for a year, and they sent me a little bit of money when I was in county and took care of me for the first couple months. And then I started getting these rumors sitting back in county saying that I wasn't paying any rent. You know, no money was going where it was supposed to now. But they knew that I was back in county fighting the case. And so somehow my buddy, which I thought was my buddy, he's running the yard now for me until I get back and stuff like that, you know. And he's done told that, you know, the people that are important, you know, that I wasn't sending it to the, made my life miserable to where there was an actual hit from the Aryan Brotherhood on my life, you know, while I was in prison. I went from being the golden child, you know, just, you know, to like now there's a hit on your life and people are coming into county jails. I'm fighting my case and there's a bounty on me. And I'm like, wow, how did this happen? How did this happen? I've been so loyal. I've done everything right. I've sent $500 a month every month, more on holidays, more when it counts. I know I talk to their wives, their families like this, like, you know, but it's a different person, you know, because sometimes those people at the top, they fight for money from different places. And when this buddy of mine took the yard, he started sending it to a different spot. So it fell on me. And in turn, man, these guys made me.
So the money went a different route because of that one individual.
That one individual.
And they didn't know that.
So he didn't go the route I told him we need to keep going from this complex. He went to somebody where he could pay cheaper, somebody he knew, a friend of his that.
So we tried to cut corners.
We did cut corners. He went to a different brother. So different brothers get different rent in Arizona. That's how it works. Aryan Brotherhood, they all collect money off these yards. It's a big prison organization. It's a business organization. That's what it is. And so, you know, as long as you're getting $500 to whoever this month, you know, you're good. That's who gets money from this complex, and that's all it was. You pay your rent, man, and as long as you're not letting, you know, snitches on the yard, pedophiles, all that stuff, you know, then yeah, do your thing, man. They want money. They wanted their money. They wanted their wives and their kids to have money. That's just the truth of it. And you know, so that money stopped going to where it was been going to for 5 years, and that individual now is upset with me. He doesn't know the whole situation. He's on the underground complex in Colorado or something, you know what I mean? But he's a brother, and so yeah, like this money stops coming where it's supposed to. He just is like, hey, this dude stops sending money, and he's living off this yard, and he's living off of what we have created as, you know, this to allow people like myself to thrive in situations like that, and just all of a sudden I'm on the hit list, dude, and like every person in the world that I've ever come across, those dudes hightail it to protective custody. Take me. And I was heated. I stood up in front in county jail like, fuck, fight me then. Bring your shit, whatever. No way, that's not me. No, I've done everything right the whole time. So I fought my case, got sent back to the same yard, and I was so excited to go back to this yard and see all these piece of shit son of a bitches that I've taken care of. I've called friends. I've helped. I've sent money to your mom. I've fed you on Thanksgivings. I've organized stuff to keep you safe on this yard. You know, I've helped you in situations. And as soon as I leave and this dude says this and this dude says this, it's like, fuck that dude. He's a piece of shit. And that's what I went back to. Small amount of friends, you know, it's 1,200 people on this yard, 600, 700 white boys. And I went back to like, wow, now you guys are all, this guy's the guy who's doing it. He's in the heroin spoon. He's doing drugs. He's not doing what he's supposed to do. But now you got a bunch of those dudes that like living that lifestyle. And it's like, fuck him, you know? And so I got there, SSU, and, you know, they come out to the yard and they're like, we can't let you on the yard. There's too much stuff we're hearing, too much this you're hearing. Like, you got to go to protective custody. I said, fuck you. You put me in protective custody. I'll sign the waiver for my life. I am not scared for my life. I am not scared for that. Put me on the yard. And so I signed that paper. And then they still won't put me on the yard, but they put me in the hole. You know, so they just put me in. They put me in the hole. So I'm on. This is like poetic justice. I'm in the hole. You know, you're also in the hole with other 805s. They got the 805s on one side, the PCs, and you got like, you know, a row of like dudes who are in there for actually breaking the law or whooping somebody up or not telling. You know, of all things, right? You got some like a row of maybe 6 people in there, and the rest is surrounded by rats. And so you're in this thing where the 805 mafia is yelling at you and talking shit to you because you're a good person. They're all piece of shits in there, and they're talking shit to the 6 people who are horrible, you know. And my door pops in the middle of the night, 2 o'clock in the morning. And this dude rolls in the middle of the night, white boy rolls in there, and I know his GP because he's coming in my cell. So I'm like, all right, what's up, man? What's going on? Blah, 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 this and that. It's fucking Cody. The dude who told everybody I was a piece of shit. The dude who was on the yard, running the yard.
Oh, how beautiful is that?
How beautiful is that? So I wake up to this dude, and not 2 minutes later, this dude who's making me look bad, and everybody sees it, and here are the little people who were in there. But, you know, in prison, it travels like, you know, word travels like high school fucking, you know.
Did they put him in there? I mean, I'll be honest with you. You think they put him in there to say, okay, you can handle it in here now?
Well, they either did it for him or for me. I don't know who they did it for, you know, but like obviously.
But they definitely set that
obviously, there's a note somewhere this dude is telling on me and making me look bad, and like.
They definitely
they're
set
not gonna
that up.
So they set it up, and immediately he says, hey, brother, blah, blah, the cop said this, the cop said that, and then I went immediately to just all the 2 years of anger I've had built up, sitting in the hole, not being able to see my family, having to get handcuffed to go to the shower, having to be handcuffed to make a phone call.
Being lied against,
being my reputation, my honor for one, just people actually thinking that
as a man.
Me, as a man, just drove me insane. It drove me so, it like made me, I was ashamed that people would think that of me. And so like him coming to the hole that night, you know, and me immediately going on, I mean, he beat on the door and cops took him out of there. Now he's the PC case, right? Which everybody can see now, which is like, I got a little justice out of it. But what they do after that is now, because I do that, they give me a gang ticket now. Now I get a gang ticket, you know, I get a assault, I get this, I get that, and they shoot me up in custody. So I go from a 2-yard where, you know, you run around, it's Camp Snoopy, to somewhere on 4-yard in Tucson, and it's all killers. Dudes are doing 25 to life, just all gangsters. And so I'm on this yard now, and like you know, there's rumors spread around of me not doing this or me not doing that, and I'm so scared. I'm so scared as a man. You know, I'm 6'7", 270 pounds, but man, I'm scared now that I'm on this yard and I don't know anybody. I don't know like if they know me, if I've done the right thing, what they think. And I'm just like, so what I do is I just go there, I start doing my thing, man. I introduce myself, I do my time that I'm supposed to. You know, my name is Big Country, and I came from here, and this is what I'm about. I got this how much time I got left, and you know, just I'm here if you need me type shit, you know. And started working out, man. And they would have a bus that would come from Yuma to Tucson, you know, maybe once a week. And you wouldn't know what day it was, up at the Sellyport, maybe Wednesday, Thursday, or whatever. But I'd go up there and just stand up there and wait. You know, anybody who came from Yuma, anybody, I don't care if you were a good person, if you were a good person, whatever, you have to see me, dude. Did you hear anybody talk about me? Did you have my name in your mouth? I'm fucking fighting you right now. And then they bumped me up in custody again, the warden, you know, put me in another higher custody yard because I was just waiting to fight people for my honor. You know, I wanted it so bad to like, and then I get to the place where I needed to go, where all the shot callers are at, right? And I'm like, fuck. And they're like, Country, hey man, you done the right thing. What do you need? Do your time. Here's some food. Here's this. You've done all the right things, brother. You're a good man. You're a good man. Go home, you know? Go home. And there was a band room on this yard. I hadn't heard an instrument for 8 years now, and heard the sound of like live music. And I'd lost so much, and there was this band room. And they gave me a job in there, just messing with music and having the band guys in there, and I got to go work in this little hole in the wall. And I got to find music again. I started writing, and started letting me do shows on the yard, man. And you got 800 or 900 people who are all killers, all walks of life, all races, but they come out and listen to me sing for 30 or 45 minutes in this fucking yard with just pin drops, like war was about to happen, like that feeling of that. But it was different. It was for them listening to this music, taking them out of wherever they were at for an hour or so.
They must have loved that, brother, because coming from a guy who's a real fucking man, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So that's how I found my love of music again. And I had some trouble with the warden there on the yard. She didn't like some of the things I'd say in songs, stuff like that. She put me in the hole a couple times, and I wrote a song about her. And but all the camaraderie that you want from men.
You still have freedom of speech, no matter you're fucking locked up or not. There's still freedom of speech.
Yeah.
If I said you're an ugly motherfucker, so what?
Yeah.
And no matter if I'm in the can or not. I mean, hello.
Yeah, you know, they can kind of get away with putting you, if they don't want you on the yard, they can just, you know, they can drum up a couple charges on you.
Well, I know my book has been in the prison systems, and it's helped a few guys, because I'm getting messages about it and stuff like that. It helped them to do their time and really know what they were doing as a man, it just, you know, they took that in, and they just felt so thank you for it, you know? In some of the places, they banned the book. Yeah. They banned Rat Bastards.
What do you know?
Because they didn't want men to have the strength to keep doing what they were doing as men.
Yeah, it's not a popular world you're in right now as far as what you're trying to do, and I love it. I love the fact that like when everybody's when everybody's prioritizing and making you think that this is okay and that's okay and telling's okay, and you know, fucking the dude from Arizona who I can't even think of his name. I want to give him no credit, you know, but you know, I'm talking about the dude who came out there and did the ecstasy ring and told on everybody. Just can't think of his name.
The little rat.
No, yeah, that little guy.
Rat. He looks like a rat too.
But he's out in Arizona, you know, and
No, he looks like a rat.
Yeah,
dude. I'm telling you. You look at the picture, and you go, he does look like a rat, though. He's got that shaped face like a rat, and you know, and
well, like you said, you adapt to your environment. You know, some kids go into prison looking like nerds, and they come out looking like convicts.
Now, all you got to do is put a little more, or some whiskers on him, and he should have wore that for Halloween.
Yeah. Well, he does. He wears it for Halloween every day.
Yeah.
You know, but like, you know, you have those guys and like somehow they glamorize it and they make them, their social media is good and they got these stories they're telling. Like, who the fuck is watching these stories and why? For what reasons? You know, so like now you got a podcast like yourself, you know, and you're telling the real stories.
What integrity are you getting out of them? Where's the integrity out of these people?
The same thing the same thing that they're marketing to people and wanting to show you is the same thing that TV and our world is politicizing to you, that it's okay to be a piece of shit. It's okay to be a woman if you're a man. It's so fucking okay to be a man and feel like using a woman's restroom. No, it's fucking not ever going to be okay for that, ever in life. And like, but as long as you got enough people telling you it's okay, well, why not? You know, why not be okay with it? Well, why not be okay with it and be one of the few?
I want to say, I'm gonna shout out. I was on Joey Molino's podcast, and he mentioned to me about, now I had no idea about this. No idea. Because I really don't pay attention to shit like that, right? He goes, yeah, and you know what they're doing in the schools now? They're putting litter boxes in the school. Litter boxes.
Oh, yeah.
I said, litter boxes?
Yeah.
So I'm listening to him. And there's a clip of it, and my face it's priceless, the way I looked at Joey. I thought he was joking, to be honest with you. So he's telling me how they got a litter box for the kids because they think they're cats, and they call them furries. And they're saying psychologically it's okay to feel like a cat. I mean, dude, I'm not a professor, a doctor. Right. Or I don't proclaim to be.
Right.
But I can tell you one thing right now. I don't think that's healthy for any kid.
No.
Any kid.
And I laugh, and I don't mean to laugh about it.
I mean, he was like, yeah, they got their furries and all that, and.
But like, you know how hard that is to like to understand, like, and watch that and like see people all like somehow condone that there's a child who is identifying as a fucking kitty cat in your room and you're all okay with it.
Or a dog.
Or a dog, whatever, or a monkey, whatever it is.
I mean, maybe they get a fire hydrant in the room. I mean, hello.
Whatever
right?
it is like.
You go to fire hydrant and go take a piss over there, right? I mean, hello, come on.
What's wrong with this picture? So if you have 4 people like watching this kid take a leak in the kitty box thinking he's a cat, and you have one person something wrong with it.
Yeah, one's barking and one meowing.
Yeah, the person who has a problem with it is the only person wrong in the room, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Now that's fucked up.
That's what I'm saying.
That's fucked up.
It's fucked up. It's a crazy world we live in.
I think you should encourage these kids. My opinion. Now I'm not a doctor, but I think you should encourage these kids, saying, "Listen, you might feel that way, but you're not that way.
Yeah.
You're not that way.
They should get help. There's just mental issues going on.
Exactly. Go to a doctor. But some of these doctors are saying, no, just go along with it. They'll grow out of it.
Yeah. Yeah. Imagine,
it's too,
Imagine telling your father
and by the way, I don't like to get into politics, but that's seriously liberal.
Yeah.
And I don't go for that.
Yeah, and listen, politics, whatever. If you're a good person, you believe in God, and you try to treat people right, it doesn't matter what side of the fence you're on. Then you're okay with me. I'll shake your hand, and I don't give a shit who you voted for. I don't. I don't. I mean, I have my beliefs. You have yours. I don't care who you voted for, and your reasons of believing that are your reasons, man. As long as they don't interfere with what I'm doing in my daily routine, then we can be friends. Maybe believe in God and like you pray at night,
Yeah.
And you got some remorse for mistakes you make and you want to try to be better, then I'm all about it.
Amen.
Yeah, amen to that, So, and that's where God comes in. God's been good in my life. I was in that cell, in lockdown, and like after I'd got the extra time and lost my brother, and I was just like, God, just don't take nobody else from me, Just please give me a chance to be a good father again. Because the one thing you learn in prison is that, you can repair relationships with friends. You can repair relationships with business associates, people you've done wrong, brothers, sisters. But like, you get one chance in this life at being a good dad. And if you fuck that up, you don't get no redos. There's no second chances at that, So missing that stretch with my daughter, all that time when she was a little girl, and now I get out and she's a sophomore in high school, and she's playing basketball. She's 6'2" like I was, and looks just like me. Seen her every weekend, but it's different when you get out. And so I started just going around and wanting to be around her games and coaching. And I was taking all the girls to the side and trying to teach them what I knew. And the athletic director comes to me one day, and I'm just a few months out of prison, fucking a rap sheet longer than anybody has ever had. And I couldn't get a job being a janitor at this school. Zero chance of this. But I prayed every night, God, just let me be a good dad again. Give me an opportunity to get back in my children's life somehow after missing so much. And they say, hey, you want to coach this high school basketball team? I said, Bobby, there's 0 chance that HR that they're going to hire me to coach a bunch of high school girls. I said, this is where I just came from. This is who I am. This is what I'm doing. And he's like, well, let's just try. You've made the girls a lot better. They all seem to like you. Jayla's doing really good. And I'm taking them all to like off, down to the fitness center, and we're going to the gym. We're just balling. I'm just loving life. I've been in prison for 10 years. And I go through HR, I go through the principal, I go through all these crazy things. I know I'm going to get turned down. There's no way they're going to hire me, man. And my first paycheck out of prison was from the Vista Grande High School. I got to coach my daughter for 3 years. I got to send her off to college in Maryland. I got to be in the locker room when she cried, when she became all-time leading scorer in Arizona. I got to hold her when she hit the shot that made her the all-time leading girl scorer. She came and jumped in my arms on the court, and God gave me He gave me that miracle. I never should have got hired by that school. I never should have been hired. And I should never be allowed at any of those. And somehow, by the grace of God,
you say you shouldn't have been allowed.
Just by the crimes and by having 27 felonies worth.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
But they seen something different.
You weren't a child molester.
No, nothing
exactly.
like that. Yeah, but still be allowed to be work with a bunch of high school girls.
You weren't touching kids or anything like that.
You
didn't do any type of crime like that.
No.
Now those motherfuckers, they don't deserve to be there. I'll tell you that.
And I don't mean I don't deserve it. I guess because I think I did deserve it.
You do.
But what I meant was
to
be able to have that opportunity is a miracle.
You do deserve it.
Yeah.
And any other man out there that has walked your walk, my walk, and all the other guests that I've had on here that walked my walk, they deserve it too.
I was wrong for saying that. You're absolutely right.
They deserve it.
They do deserve that. Everybody deserves that opportunity. We just don't get it.
You've walked the walk. Now they put you all back into society to be a better person, to be a good person, right? A good American, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But you're putting handcuffs on them when they walk out that door because you're holding that over their head.
Yeah.
Take those handcuffs off, and we'll show you how good and how smart men like you can be. And they gave you that opportunity.
They did.
That school gave you that opportunity.
They did.
And guess what? Thank God for that.
Thank God for that.
What's that school
I thank
again?
God for that. Vista Grande High School. Coach Barrett, Bobby.
Coach Barrett, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for being a good man.
Bobby, the athletic director, the principal, Dansby, who's now the principal there. He was the vice principal at the time. They all had my back, man.
Thank you all for being a good man.
Yeah, that we turned that program around, and I helped. We started winning tournaments, and they were losing games. We started becoming one of the best teams, and it was so much fun. And probably the proudest thing I've ever done is just be able to come from where I was at and be able to coach and not just have a positive impact on my daughter's life, but like so many other girls that still text me, like Coach Scott.
What a beautiful thing that was, right?
Yeah, and then
mean, just just seeing your daughter and your daughter seeing you.
Yeah. After so long, and she's the only one. I have a son, and I have my son Jay, and then my wife and family members. But like the only person, and Jayla was young when I went to prison, but the only person that I talked to every day that never judged me, that never held what I'd been away against me, who's never said a word to me about being gone, was only my daughter. She just loved me the whole way through it for 10 years. Can't wait for you to come home. I can't wait for you to come and do this with me or do that with me. And never is like whether it wasn't I wasn't able to do something for since I've come home, or whether I've let her down. And sometimes what you do as a man, sometimes you keep trying. But she never was like, I can't believe you left me. I can't believe you did this. She just loves me, and she's 21 now.
It's stories like this that get a solid guy like me emotional.
Yeah.
Because because you stood up, you took it, and you walked the walk the way you should have walked it. You did the right thing, and now it all comes back to you because God gave you that opportunity to bring you back to your family and your daughter. How beautiful is that?
It is beautiful, and that's the thing why I wouldn't change anything in my past. I wouldn't change a fucking thing, because if I don't go do that prison time, it doesn't mold me into the man that I am. I'm not sitting here, I have the opportunity to meet you and your wife, and to be a part of what you got going on, and hopefully building with you and being your friend moving forward, and taking opportunities of things that that I don't, and vice versa. I believe about just relationships that I'm able to build, and I believe God always puts me. There's been some big things that I've had to turn down in my career. I've won iHeartRadio Song of the Year in 2021 during COVID. So everything that they had for me, iHeartRadio's and Jack Daniels, got canceled because I wouldn't get vaccinated. Jack Daniels, I got flown out there in 2022. Just I won't go into it, but it was a deal I couldn't accept. Would have changed my life. And just a bunch of things I couldn't accept. But what I found out is I was blaming God at the time too. I was just like, why is God giving me all these things that I can't have? I just can't. They aren't meant for me. And I went to church one night in Scottsdale with Pastor Mark, great guy at Trinity Church. And his message that night was like, who's your worst enemy? And I was like, at the time, I was like, well, it's this or it's that. And he just said, no, it's you. You can tear yourself down faster than any man can. Only you can break yourself down and do that. You're your own worst enemy. And I started trying to take accountability for things that I was doing wrong. And I'd seen some things differently that night going to church. And I started going to that church every on Tuesday nights, these men's groups. They kept getting bigger and bigger. And he asked me actually to lead the men in worship one night. He's like, would you come lead these men in worship? I'm talking thousands of people. And just tell your story, maybe sing a few songs. And it was the biggest honor of my life. For whatever that 30 minutes was, I was on that stage singing in God's house. It was better than any high I've ever been on, better than any drugs, better than any line of cocaine. It's better than anything the Holy Spirit, was in me, and I was able to do that night. And as soon as I left that stage, boy, it all went away. Went back to real life. But it's pretty cool to have those moments, and know that he's real.
I want to just say this, and a lot of people who've gone through the adversity, hard stuff like you have, and they always say, why God, why God, why God? You know why? Because God chose you to travel that path. He chose you to travel and experience that adversity. Because if you didn't experience that adversity, you wouldn't be able to give back.
Yeah.
You wouldn't be able to give back, brother.
No, you're right.
You just wouldn't be able to because you never experienced it.
Yeah.
It's guys like us that stood the test, that experienced it, that are able to give back.
And that's what you're doing right now. You're giving a platform just for good, just for honesty, just for integrity. There's no two ways about it. It's black and white. There's right, there's wrong, and it's real simple. But it's a simple format that makes it so beautiful. And like you said, how you get to give back. Like last night,
1,000%.
How you say, God, why me? Why this? Why that? So last night I did a fundraiser in Arizona. Then I hauled ass here to come to your show. Drove 6 hours this morning to get here.
Oh, I appreciate it, brother.
Last night I did a show, the fundraiser for a kid named Shea. And this kid named Shea is 20 years old, 21 years old. He's in a wheelchair forever. He has to sit back like this. He's on monitors. And if you've seen the show I did last night, my buddy Brett Favre, one of my heroes that I've met through my music journey, sent him a jersey signed. And last night I was a part of this fundraiser where we raised this kid and his families because they no longer pay for his medical supply. Insurance doesn't pay for his medical stuff. They were selling jerseys and stuff, and we raised probably like $50,000 last night for this kid and his family. And that's what it's about. This kid asked me, he texted me on Instagram on Halloween. He said, hey, Mr. Scott, he's like, happy Halloween. And he can't really talk, so he's texting however that goes down. He's got a team of people who look after him. And he says, hey, I got a request. Would you sing a song for me, a certain song for me at my show, or at my fundraiser on Sunday? I said, absolutely, but anything. Just go ahead and say it. In my mind, I'm like, I hope it's something I know. And he texts me back, and he says, The Climb by fucking Miley Cyrus, fucking Hannah Montana. And I'm like, son of a bitch. So I learned the song literally the day of, morning of. I sent it to my fiddle player, and I say, Kathy, could we just wing this for this kid? Like, if I look stupid, who cares? Look at what he goes through every morning. And we got this beautiful video last night of like, I'm sitting there, I don't know the words of the song. I've listened to it a couple times. I tell my fiddle player, when you start playing something, I tell my guitar player, just listen to me sing it. And Trey's up there, and he's laying in his wheelchair, and he's staring up at me. His family's around him. And I start singing the song, and then my fiddle player gets in. And the guitar player finds his way. None of us have ever played this song, ever. Never heard it, probably. And it just comes together perfect. We have the video of it, man. And the song that we've never done is violin, guitar, me singing it. And this kid in front of us talking about the climb. The climb's just about not giving up, not quitting, no matter what door you face,
Yep.
And on the other side of it, like there's always going to be another mountain. You're always going to want to make it move. It's always going to be hard times, but you got to get through them. And this kid, like, just personifies that every day and never complains. Only posts positive stuff on his page. Only stuff he's doing, dreams he has. He's 20 years old. He's 4 foot tall. He's never going to grow anymore. His life is really shitty compared to life, and he gets up every morning with a positive attitude. He was just at the tattoo parlor getting sleeved up. He's got ball players and celebrities that come hang out with him. Dude's figured out a way to live a good life in a really, really shitty situation, which makes me never have, like your last guest said, he's like, well, I'm Irish, man. He's like, we've been through it. You ain't going to find me complaining. Like, other people got it rough, and you see stuff like that, and I'm like, man, there's no fucking thing I can do. I complain about coffee sometimes or the way it tastes. Like, dude, shut the fuck up, Josh. You got it pretty good, dude. You got it pretty good. Bad days are, for this guy are you got
Congratulations.
Yeah.
I mean, really, and that's what I'm saying. If you didn't go through that traveling course that God put you through, right? You wouldn't have been able to give that back.
No.
You wouldn't able to feel. You wouldn't even able to feel that.
No, and in the music business, you know, there's so many people that are trying to just tear your head off. And there's so many people that'll tell you just everything that you want to hear and never what you need to hear, you know, which is like whether you write a song or whether you got like a song and you play it for somebody and you got all these Jew boys in your circle just like, yeah, that's great. That's great, because they just want to tell you it's great. They want to make sure they tell you what you want to hear. But like, it's nice getting involved in a circle where you meet people like yourself. To where, like I was telling you before we started recording, is like, I don't need to know anything else besides what you tell me, because I can see it in your face. It's like, it's just the truth.
So let me ask you something. Were you away? I know that you did some writing.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
And you wrote some songs while you were away.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you wrote something special, right?
Well, I wrote This Time. You know, This Time is my most popular song. It didn't win Song of the Year, but it's my most streamed song. It's millions of streams.
It means a lot to you because it was done while you were away.
It was when I was in the hole, and if you know, obviously you've been to prison, so you know you get around people in prison, and no matter if you're the most non-dangerous offender to the most dangerous offender, if you have a release date in there, if you have a release date in prison, some people don't. And I wish them guys all the best, and keep your head on in there. But the guys that have a release date, whether that's a year from now or 10 years from now, everybody says, this time, if you're in prison, you hear this all the time. This time I'm going to be a better dad. This time I'm going to be a better man, a better father, a better brother, a better Christian. I'm going to be a better Catholic, whatever that is. This time in prison. All these men are telling each other that. 90% of them are full of shit, but 10% of them, but they mean it at the time. Everybody, no matter how hardened you are in there, like, this time I'm going to get it right, you know. So that's where This Time came from. I just wrote a song called This Time. It took off. It's been my most popular song, and people, look, it changed. It's been cool to see the impact it's had on some people in their lives, you know.
So what are the words? How's it go?
So the words are. So it starts off as let's see here. You're trying to get me singing acapella, aren't you?
Yeah. You know what I'm trying to do.
I know. There's no hiding from this guy right here.
You can do a little acapella. You can do a little acapella.
I see his eyes. So it says, let's see here. This time I'm gonna try a little harder, and this time I'm gonna be a little smarter, and this time I'm gonna think things through. I'm gonna be the man you once knew. This time I'm gonna be a little less needy. Gonna do my best to give instead of being greedy. Take a little drive in my pickup truck, windows down and the feel good up. This time. And the chorus is, I won't take life for granted, I'll enjoy the ride. Put my best foot forward, leave the past behind. Spend a lot more time with the people I love, and give a little thanks to the man above. And take some extra time, take it all in, and take a deep breath, do it all again, hey, this time. And then the end is just, this might be the last time, this time. So everybody's got it this time.
Brother,
wherever your editing is, I hit a pretty bad note there. I wasn't planning on singing. So whatever I got out of range here, just Dwight Yoakam that one out of there for me.
I'm gonna tell you, brother, that I listened to that song, and I'm glad. That's why I brought it up, because that's a beautiful song, brother.
Thank you. I was gonna bring guitar and stuff, but like I got out of there so late last night.
No, that's okay.
I didn't know the fucking
you
Dodgers.
You didn't need a guitar with that. I'll tell you that right now. I get a nice guitar at home that I bought, a brand new one. I started playing, and I was like, I don't have any time. I still get this beautiful guitar at home that I want to play and learn, but I have no time, brother.
Yeah, well, this time. Maybe this time you make some time.
Maybe this time you make some time.
So yeah, man. So that song, I wrote all these songs from prison, and I've obviously written some before I've gotten out, but I've never written a song until prison. And I wrote the first little song I wrote was when the warden put me in the hole. I just did this little song when I was in the hole. It's called In the Hole Again. I just I said in there. I said, I'm in the hole again. She took me away from all my friends. Yeah, she really did me in. I'm in the hole again. I'm doing push-ups off my sink. I know you have.
Oh, yeah.
You know this room, it really stinks. I ain't got much to eat. Hey, I'm in the hole again. And I was thinking about her being at home, being such a bad woman. I was like, well, she must be mistaking me. Something about something. But the moral of the story was that warden is at home being sad. I'm in the hole singing country songs, and that bitch she can wear my frown as I'm smiling, basically.
Yeah.
And I wrote a song in the hole. I went to the yard and did it, and then she put me back in the hole. Then I wrote some more songs.
So, well, you know why she wasn't happy?
Yes, because she hated the peace on her yard and the people coming together and actually having a decent time. And she didn't like that. So that was my perspective.
But
of it.
you know the real take on that with her. I'm going to tell you, I never even met this woman in my life.
Yeah.
But I know the position she holds.
Yeah.
And I know the position itself. She hated herself for being the warden of a prison and have to deal with the people that are coming in there every single day, right? That are done crime or were blamed for crimes. And she was probably a CO before that. And she was...
For sure.
Yeah? Oh,
For
yeah.
sure.
And she was probably a CO before that.
For sure, yeah.
And we all know what happens with COs, right? Strip down and let me check your balls.
Yeah.
Bend over, let me check your ass.
Yeah.
Who the hell wants to ever take a job like that?
Yeah.
Who wants to take a fucking job like that?
Yeah.
No wonder they're angry.
Yeah. No wonder you're pissed off. Your job requirements
No wonder she's pissed off.
Yeah, your job requirements are you got to look at ass, balls, and getting maced to make sure you can handle some pepper spray. That's your job requirements. Who's signing up for that shit for $20 an hour?
Now, does that make sense?
It does make sense. Yeah.
There you go, brother.
When you put it like that, it makes pretty good sense.
There you go.
Yeah. Sometimes just the simple truth works.
Just the simple truth.
Yeah, that's pretty cool, man.
Mark Twain once said, if you want to... Oh, man. I'll think about it.
You let me know. You text me. You text me.
I will.
Man. Yeah. I've enjoyed this thoroughly, and I really do.
It almost was like, if you want to see the worst job in the world, be a prison guard.
Yeah.
Because all you're going to see is the dredges of life.
Yeah.
And they're living that pain.
Yeah.
Oh, I got to cuff a man.
Yeah.
I got to cuff a man. I got to look at, strip search him.
Yeah. Put you in the back of a wagon and drive you from Yuma to the other side of Arizona for 9 hours. You know what I mean? There's some things that they have to do that's inhumane. That if I were to see that, and I have, I've gone back and I've talked to some kids at prisons, at juvies and stuff, and when you go and you see it from the outside, you look inside and it's like, God dang, it's like we were in a zoo. We were just like an exhibit. You look inside there and see what's going on, and all you're like, son of a bitch, man. It's like we were just like in a zoo. These guys were our caretakers. Took your shirt in, put your ID bag on. Here's your food. Take you to the shower. Here's your phone call. What the fuck?
Yeah, I was talking about that the other day on a podcast, and I was in the hole. And when you're in the hole, because I was in the hole almost every year of my time, all the years I've been through.
It also makes for usually a good person,
Oh yeah, I know the hole well. Trust me. But you get a shower 3 days a week, right?
Yeah.
3 days a week.
Monday, Wednesday, Friday.
Well, you get a little stinky when you're working. You're trying to give yourself a bath through the small sink and pressing the water and all that, right? Try to stay as clean as possible, even when you don't have that shower.
Bird bathing.
But when you go get the shower, when I was in there, we had bars, and we went to the shower, and the bars were there, and the CO would give you a razor so you could shave yourself and stuff like that, and soap, right?
Right.
Well, there was a woman. There was a woman guard working that particular pod, hole, and when she brought you out to take a shower, she put you in, she took the cuffs off you and all that. She's watching you nude in the shower and handing you that razor.
Yeah.
I just found it a little demeaning.
There's a lot of stuff that's demeaning.
I'm telling you, I found that demeaning.
Yeah.
That I'm letting a woman, a little woman, have this much control over me. And then to stand there and to watch a man take a shower,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's a little demeaning.
It makes that shower you look forward to really uncomfortable.
Well, I mean, for some guys it might have been okay because they probably put a show on, if you will.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
that's their way of getting back.
Right. Yeah.
I'm not going to say I ever did that, but
Yeah.
that's besides the point.
Yeah. Well, you know, you spend 365 days a year using that shower. There's going to be some things you do in there. If somebody's watching every day, then
I've walked into a couple of situations. I walked back out real quick. I can tell you that. But that's a whole different podcast. But yeah, I mean, yeah.
Can I ask you a question here?
Yes.
It says, I got a question for you. I wanted to ask you. So, you know, on these podcasts and stuff, you know, it's about you know, like fuck the rats, and it's about, you know, the solid time you've been in prison and stuff like that, and the people that have done their time, and just, you know, stuck to just being a man, basically being a code, right? So, but now that this podcast that you have going on, it's like, instead of like so much exposing these rats who don't need no glory, I don't think it is glorifying them. It like gives them a platform. I think it's really cool that you are just like going on the route of just like you're instead of giving the clout to these guys who don't deserve it, who are piece of shits, you know, that you're just like, there's a bunch of good dudes coming through here who are getting a platform, who are able to talk and maybe get some new listeners.
Tell this story.
And as well as you're growing, you know, like my listeners and my people will now go look at your story and it'll grow. So I think what you're doing is really, really positive. And so, you know, like sooner or later you get past the prison shit and you're like, that's not who I want to be anymore. It's something I did. It's what's defined me as a man. But I just say now, like when I look, you know, when it first originally, you know, knowing you, I would just think of you as a gangster, you know, this fucking mobster.
Yep.
You know. But now after reading a couple chapters in your book, I haven't read it all, but after reading a couple chapters in your book and you meeting your wife and like kind of getting your story and some of the things you're about and what you're trying to do, I don't think of you as just a mobster anymore, you know. Like, so when I think of you as just like a dude who's just trying to give people an opportunity and make just shed a good light on good people. So that's why I view it. It ain't about the gangster shit.
I appreciate that. I appreciate you recognizing that because, you know, it's about changing your life for the better.
Yeah. But obviously, like, you know, even though you've done all that and you're a best-selling novel and you're a different man now, like, I can still tell looking at you not to try you. You know, I heard the story you told about the 6'3" guy. I'm 6'7".
Yeah, I'm an old man, but I still got a little left in the tank. I can tell you that.
Definitely wouldn't move the right shoulder now. I just try to keep that.
Well, I'm in the gym training a young fighter now and stuff like that, and he just turned 20 years old, and I'm in there training him and stuff like that. I don't get paid for that.
Yeah.
I work my regular job all day, and then I'll go to the gym at night, you know.
Yeah.
I'm tired by that time after the day job, right?
Yeah.
But I still dedicate myself. I dedicate myself to a young man that wanted to learn how to really box and fight, and we're working on that now with him, and he's coming along fantastically. And
well, I'll tell you that, you know, something about being able to do that for another person. Like I grew up playing sports. You know, there was never no better feeling than like running out onto the court, like, you know, during the warm-ups and having the crowd. You know, that feeling of scoring a point or scoring 30 points in a game. You think it's the best feeling ever, and then you watch your children do it, and you're like, oh,
right,
wow. There's no greater feeling than that. Like whatever I felt for myself of watching your child or somebody that you've taught to do something, or like, you know, of like, you know, taught a jab or taught a duck and move or a hook, you know, or whatever that is in the boxing terms, you know. You teach them that, but then to be able to watch something that you've taken in your whole life and then give it to another person and they take that and they actually use it and they're good at it, it's a pretty unexplainable feeling.
It's a tremendous feeling.
So you are getting paid for it. You know, and it just, because I learned a lot about that.
Thank you for opening my eyes.
I didn't mean to set you up right
there.
No,
that was great. I love that.
But, you know, sometimes we aren't getting the money for it. Like last night I didn't get paid for that show that I did, but like we made $50,000 for Trey.
Thank you for opening my eyes.
And you know, I got to feel better than any amount of money make me feel by doing something good for someone else.
So you're on this course now of singing and career and everything else.
Yeah.
And I know you're doing really well.
Doing well.
I know you're doing well.
Doing well.
And you're traveling the country and everything and singing and all that. Your music's awesome.
Thank you.
Where can people get your music?
Josh Scott Music.
Josh Scott Music.
My name with music on the end of it. It's joshscottmusic.com, at Josh Scott Music, Josh Scott Music everything. So that's on all streaming platforms, on Instagram, on Facebook, TikTok, you know, anywhere.
And your next gig is going to be in Arizona?
So no, my next gig is the 15th in Arizona, and then we're having we got this new song I wrote called "Pray." It's getting ready to come out. We're really excited about it, And there's going to be a church tour. We're starting on April 3rd on Good Easter, and there's going to be traveling out here to California doing it. It's called the church tour. It won't be just like a church thing, but it's going to be like 10 songs, and it's going to be kind of based around just the power of prayer. It's really cool. We got a lot of good Nashville guys on it. A kid named Presley on it. It's taken a pretty cool journey, and people are excited about it. So hopefully we get to get another song out, and share God's message and a message everybody can relate to, but not be a Christian song, because it can still be a cool country song.
Sure.
From a dude with my background,
just a heartfelt song.
So all that's getting ready to come out. Got a Christmas album coming out. We got a bunch of new songs. We got a new album coming out next year. 18 songs on it. A lot of cool stuff. The thing with Brett Favre. I got some stuff going on with Jesse Whitley, which is Keith Whitley's son.
Sure. Yep.
One of the most legendary voices in the world. So him and I got a little project going on. We're doing 3 songs.
Awesome.
One of his dad's.
So you are doing well.
Yeah,
and so that's the blessed thing.
I mean, I could be doing better. I'm still irresponsible. I still like to be a lot better in a lot of ways, but each day I'm getting better than I used to be, and I know where I'm messing up at, and I'm trying to correct those. And I'll never be perfect, man. I'm a man, and I got dreams, and sometimes when you're chasing dreams, sometimes people get ran over along the way, and I don't.
Well, I'm going to tell you, it's a hell of a story. It's a different story than most people, because you weren't in that world. That world.
Yeah.
But you still held your mud.
Yeah, I was raised by a good man.
And that's so big. That's so huge.
Yeah, I was raised by a real good man. Frank Scott, he's a real good man. He's a good man, a good father, good person. So I just grew up around that, and so it's like the stuff that that you would get taught on not to do as a convict, or is just basically the same thing a man would teach his son. Like, you don't tell another man, you don't take advantage of that. You say yes sir, yes ma'am, respect women, and you'll live a pretty good life.
So I'm going to say this again. I got a new wall, and I have all those stand-up guys whether they've been to prison or not, all those stand-up people who've been on my show, and then some out there. I can't wait to put those new names up there. Your name's going up there.
I appreciate that.
Your name is going up, stand-up person, the stand-up person wall. And then, of course, I say this, we have the other wall, which is the Hall of Fame for rats.
Yeah.
And congratulations to every one of you MFers out there.
Yeah.
But I just want to say this. It's such an honor for you to come on and have you on.
Yeah.
But before we leave, I like to ask the question, if there's any advice that you could give people in general about living life, what would that be? Power
of prayer is real. So sometimes, when you pray and your prayers go unanswered, and they do go unanswered, sometimes for years. I had prayers that would go unanswered for years, but I got to a spot to where all I had was me and my prayer, 3 or 4 times a day with the Lord. That got me through a lot of tough situations. So the power of prayer is real if you commit to it and you pray and you continue on to have faith in prayer. He will answer you. It may not always be exactly what you want to hear, but it's going to be what you need. I believe that totally, and he's going to put you in the right spots, like he put me in today with you, and moving forward. So just pray and give it to God, and know there's something better for us on the other side.
That's wonderful, brother.
Yeah.
Well, I can't thank you enough for coming on the show.
It's been an honor for me to be here and to be a part of what you got going on.
I'm telling you, what a voice you got. I'll tell you that.
We had to edit some of that out. I wasn't ready for that.
I
just felt like I felt like I was sitting in your living room.
Tremendous.
I felt like I was sitting in the living room, 2 of us. So I got carried away.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah. That's all right.
Appreciate you.
That's the best.
Thank you very much, man.
Thank you, brother, for coming on.
Thank you. Oh, we'll get a hug in there, man. Thank you very much. Appreciate you.